Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather. Look, man, they were right. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, follow me on Twitter, leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings, man. Now listen, you take a look at what's been happening here now that, I would say 50-50 fights are being made. But look, with the fighters who are losing, look at what's happening to them. Look at how they're being treated. Fans are quick to turn their backs on these fighters. Promoters are quick to turn their backs on these fighters when they lose. Let me tell you something. If I was a fighter right now, as much as legacy will be a priority, I would pray that if I got into a 50-50 fight, that I at least came out in a draw. So I knew I could get put back in the queue to go again. If you lose now, it's like they just move on to the next. It's like an elimination. Like this is what it's like. It's like, no kidding, like one of those tournaments where it's like an elimination. So you have several guys fighting. One guy loses and he falls off. Maybe he gets another opportunity to come back. And if he loses again, then he's totally dead. But that's just what I feel, man. You look at and what really is getting to me is I'm just looking at AJ, Wilder, saw what happened with Regis. You see what happened with Chris Colbert, how they doing Rolly. And we can go on and on about fighters who have taken losses. And it seems like their career has pretty much come to an end. You look at Shakur Stevenson. He didn't lose, but man, if you don't get in there and really perform, and fans and promoters tend to act funny towards you. And I know Eddie Hearn picked up Shakur Stevenson, but I'm going to say this about Eddie Hearn. What Eddie Hearn is doing, he sees these. It's like a person going fishing. You try different bait, you cast out. And you may hook a fish, right? But then you try a different bait and cast out. And you hook another fish. And you say, okay, I'm catching fish, and these are okay, but I need to get that trophy fish. They want the big fish, the big catch. Something they can say, okay, look what I caught. And I think that's what Eddie Hearn is doing right now. And that's why he picked up Regis, picked up Matias, picked up Hitchison, picked up Shakur Stevenson, picked up Boots. You take a look at that, right? Matias, he's no longer working with him. He said maybe down the road, but he's not working with him because Matias lost. Prograde, that shit is over. He ain't working with Prograde no more, okay? Devin Haney, he's not working with Devin Haney. Paro and Hitchens. Hitchens is barely hanging on. But with Boots better win. But this is what's happening here is the reason Shakur Stevenson is kind of hanging in there barely because Eddie Hearn is on that fishing expedition, and what he's hoping is that Shakur can be the guy that ends up being the trophy catch, so he can say, "Hey, look at what I got here," because Boots is another one where I think he's like he feels like this may be it because AJ's out of here. But I say all that to come back to my point is Gervonta Davis and Floyd were right. It's all about the money. Don't be, it's like don't get into these super high risk fights. Go in there and get as much money as you can. The undefeated record, I don't think is about protecting you. Oh, it's just about great reward for little risk. And for Shakur Stevenson, I'm telling you, I think Eddie Hearn is going to put him in which is what we as fans want to see. Now, as a boxing fan, I want to see those tough fights. But when I sit back and think, like, okay, if I was a fighter, how would I feel about this? And I'd be like, shit, maybe I don't want to get into something where every fight is a 50-50. That means you're in hard fights, every goddamn fight. I'll say this. I think that's ridiculous for fighters in every fight to get into a hard fight. If you want to have a long-lasting career, in my opinion, you should have a tough fight, a few filler fights, another tough fight, but everything can be tough fights back to back. Because you end up in a situation like how Deontay Wilder and Fury killed each other. Recently, Campbell Hatton and that other guy destroyed each other. Who was that who fought twice? And it's like, yo, they're ruining each other. Oh, Wardley and Clark. Clark got the bad end of the stick in that second fight. But what I'm getting at is I don't think that's necessary. Because the promoters ain't going to want to deal with you. And fans going to turn their back on you. You look at Jared Anderson. Now, he didn't help his situation at all with the things that he came out and said about he doesn't really plan on being around the sport too long. Talked about retiring at the age of 26, 27, something crazy. Talking about he didn't want all the responsibility and shit. He was crying, tongue hanging out his mouth, wrapped around his head, dragging across his scalp. Then he put him in with Bacoli and he gets destroyed. So he had already kind of shot himself in the foot with the fans, but when he came and got destroyed, I haven't heard one person come out and say anything positive about him. It's all been negative. It's just really unfortunate. Look at Tim Tszyu. He got in two pretty competitive fights. He lost both of them. And look at what fans are saying. He's a bum. He's always been a tomato can. He should quit. Now, if he would not have taken those fights, you know what they would have said? They're putting duck sauce on the fried rice. But you know what would have happened? He would have still been out here undefeated or with a win coming back after Fundora. He would have had a win. And he would have been going into another big fight for big money, even if it was against lesser opposition. So yeah, Floyd was right. You can't, the belts don't mean shit. You can't take those belts to the bank and deposit them. Your kids can't be hungry. You can't take the belt and go buy food for them. Those accolades don't mean a effing thing. What matters is the dollar bill, y'all. Wu-Tang, Kareem. Cash rules everything around them. And I agree with that. And if you watch Gervonta Davis hasn't been fighting bums at all. But he's not fighting Teofimo and Haney and Shakir, and he's not fighting the names we like to see him fight. But he has a pretty good resume, man. I know people hate on him, but I think they should keep doing things the way they're doing with Gervonta. Keep being strategic. The funny thing is, I think he beats everybody, but they're right. I'm telling you, man, when you watch some of these fighters, I'm sure some of them feel like, you know what, I should have just erred on the side of caution instead of just going in from one fight to the next in highly competitive matchups where I could have lost, especially after they end up losing or just having something taken out of them. You watch Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis has he has a winning record, a lot of knockouts, but his punch resistance, man, is just shot. Devin Haney didn't cause that just from Regis Prograis being in, competitive fights. Fight after fight after fight. And he's 35 years old too, but he started boxing later. But I just think it caught up to him. But he has over 30-something fights. Regis has been scrapping for a while. But that being said, Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather, when I'm sitting back watching how these fighters are being treated when they go into a competitive match and they lose, I'd rather they say I'm putting duck sauce on the fried rice than for them to come out here and for them to say I'm putting duck sauce on the fried rice and I keep making millions and millions of dollars, than for them to come out here and say oh, he was brave and he fought tough competition, and then I can't fight no more because I'm damaged and I'm not making any money. So I'd rather still be a money making machine than just a machine that needs to be refurbished. Forget that. Give me that dough. Anyway, as a fan, I want to see the best fight the best. But if I sit back here and try to get into the mind of these fighters, I probably want to make sure that I'm always in position to make the most money possible and to continue making money. Getting into 50-50 fights time after time after time after again and taking damage over and over and over, that's not how you do it. But that's, as a fan, that's what I want to see. But as a boxer, that's not how you do it. Anyway, good luck to all these guys. But I think Floyd and Gervonta got it right. Boxing fans don't give a shit about these fighters. As soon as you lose, they talk shit about you. In the breeze.